Welcome to A Long and Long Time Ago with me, Adam, and I'm joined as always by Martin. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Today we're carrying on our Talking Star Wars series, and we've got a special guest that really requires no introduction. um,
Right, start again.
No, that's good. I like that.
If you're a fan of Star Wars and part of the collecting community, you'll know him and you'll know his channel, Blacked Out Ewoks. He's here with us today. How's it going?
Hi, everyone.
Lovely to meet you finally.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to you're a fountain of knowledge for collecting. So we'll get to all of that in a minute. But firstly, we want to today's Wednesday, and we've just had episode 3 of Mandalorian. So should we just sort of find out what you thought of that first?
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it. I mean, it went off. I mean, yeah, you start with the TIE fighters chasing the Mando and Bo-Katan, and then it switches to another story, which takes more or less the whole of the episode, which is with that Doctor and he's now part of the rebels working for the Alliance and all that sort of stuff. So I find it quite interesting. I got quite involved in that story, and the sort
it was quite a different one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did it remind Martin? Did you enjoy it? Firstly,
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, as soon as I saw the word Coruscant in the description, which is my favorite planet in Star Wars, I was like, "Yep, this is going to be great." So I was in straight away.
Yeah. I was going to say, did it remind you of like it having a bit of an Andor feel to it?
Yeah, I mean, because I'm rewatching the Andor as well at the moment, so I'm on the 4th episode of that again, and I mean, the slower pacing, the more sort of something's just come on my computer there. Let me just get rid of that. Just the sort of slower pacing, the more
character development.
Character development was more quite interesting, because we know the Doctor from season 1 when he was working on Grogu, so that was quite I thought it was quite interesting. So it
was good. What about you, Martin?
I got
espionage feel.
Yeah, slightly, and I thought, they with the Mandalorian, this episode's usually quite short, so you don't get much character development, but they really gave you a good 30 minutes on the Doctor and the ex or probably current Imperial lieutenant that was in it. So I thought that was great, and it was really interesting to see that Bo-Katan has now been accepted into the would it be the Creed? That was quite interesting. So I'd be interested to see where that goes. I kind of get the feeling that Bo-Katan's playing a game there somehow.
Possibly. I thought it was quite surprising. Like you said, it was the majority of the episode was Dr. Pershing and Kane, I think her name was Elia Kane, I think.
You're better at names than me.
Yeah. And I was quite surprised to not see quite as much of Mando, but still a good episode. It was
really good. It worked.
Yeah, it did.
And you get involved in the Dr. Pershing's story, and
I couldn't decide whether we were supposed to like the two of them or not, and figure out who they're working for as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe they're gonna, because they went onto the Star Destroyer, got all the gear, and then got caught at the end, that maybe they were gonna be allowed by the rebel forces to do maybe by a secret organization within the rebellion, that they could carry on with their scientific research.
Good call.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure, but anyway, let's get to what we've got you on for. It's your expertise in collecting, really. How long have you been doing it?
It's coming close to 30 years, so quite a long time, really. So then 30 years ago I was 23. So I mean, I've said this story so many times, where I was in Forbidden Planet in London and I saw a 12-back Princess Leia, and that just took me back to the late 70s, and obviously I wanted one like that. And so then went to Portobello Road, and there was a tri-logo ATST driver and Tebow for about £3 each, carded in mint condition. And I didn't have no money on me, but my mate did. So I said, "Can I lend me the money? I want to buy these." And bought them, took them home, and you know, by '94, I had every figure on card except Yak Face, and so finally got Yak Face in 2011. 2009, I got a laptop and went on eBay, went a bit mad then, and started to buy variants of cards and this and that. And then I got to the point where I was thinking, or often seeing loose graded figures as well. And I was, say around 2010, 2011, they were about, you could get a AFA 85 U graded figure if you wanted for about 20 quid. So I thought,
that's ridiculous.
Should I start collecting these? Because I'm quite fortunate that I've still got my figures from childhood, but I've only got about, say, 60 or maybe 55 out of those. And so I became aware that there are certain variants as well. So I thought, why not start collecting those as well? They're certainly more affordable than the carded figures. So I started buying loose graded figures, and that's more these days. That's the main thing I buy, is loose vintage variants. So I've got quite a few to show you and talk about. So if you,
well, yeah, we want to see them for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't. Apart from what you put out on your YouTube channel, have you got like a video or anything showing the entire collection?
Unfortunately not. I live in a tiny flat in London, so I just haven't got the space, which is the big problem.
How big is the collection then?
It's quite huge.
Still got most of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of the modern stuff as well. I mean, back in '95 when the modern stuff started coming out again, the Power of the Force 2, a lot of the micro machines before that, the Just Toys Bendhams, trading cards, comics. I got the complete run of Marvel, Star Wars, the vintage ones, quite a few of the British Star Wars weeklies.
Yeah, I've got those.
The trading card sets, the tops ones from the 70s. So books galore. It's always been a passion of mine. I mean, I've had to stop collecting the comics for quite a long time ago because it was just getting too much and I just didn't have the space. So my main passion is carded action figures. So I mean, I love the vintage collection, like as obviously you do, the original vintage Kenner figures as well. But because the prices are so high for those now, I hardly get carded vintage Star Wars these days. So it's mainly going for the loose graded figure variants. And sometimes you'll have a set of figures like a Luke Farm Boy. You can get 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 variants of Luke Farm Boy loose graded.
Because when Martin started his loose graded collection, I think we discussed it on the first episode, but we only thought that they were like country of origins and that was it.
Yeah.
But obviously Martin's now learning through you and a few other people that that's not quite the case.
No, I mean, it's been a long 10, probably since 2010, 2011 that I've started to collect loose graded. And then you sort of, then I was probably buying mainly the Hong Kong and No-Kus, which is no country of origin. Yeah. And then you start to learn about the Mexican Lily Lede figures, which are probably some of the most prized loose graded figures. And then more recently, the Spanish figures have become increasingly popular. Yeah. They're the POX and the PBP figures. So been buying those when I can, trying to get them at affordable prices. Then there's modern bootlegs you can buy. I don't just collect Star Wars. There's other lines I can have a passion for, which is like the Mego Star Trek. I'm trying to complete the 1979 Mego Star Trek Aliens, the 3.75 figures. I've got 4 out of the 6, but they are incredibly hard to assemble. I've been recently more collecting also the Motu figures, loose graded as well. So
Wow.
even though I didn't have the Motu figures as a child, there's something visually appealing about them. So I'll dabble with those now and again. I mean, usually it's like when I go on eBay and I'm bored, I'll, and think, what shall I buy? And you've got this thing inside you saying you must spend money, you must spend money, even though really you shouldn't. And sometimes you're on eBay for a couple of hours, you see something and think, oh, should I buy this, and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I'm glad that it's not just me and Adam then.
No, it's definitely a sort of thing that drives you inside, that says, you really need this action figure. It's really rare.
eBay's a dangerous place, isn't it?
Yeah. And obviously there's Facebook as well. But I find with Facebook that you need to be on Facebook all the time to snag the bargains. Otherwise, when I go on, everything's gone. It's all been claimed. So
we've said that a few times. There have been deals have come up for what I'm looking for, and I've just not been there to get them at the right time, and they've been really good prices as well.
Yeah,
so it's quite frustrating.
I mean, you're starting a vintage collection run. It looks like a few.
Yes.
You're doing the bounty hunters, aren't you?
That's
focus
right.
On those. So you've got Shea Vizsla there.
Yeah, I am looking for bounty hunters, but droids keep popping up, and I quite like the Astromechs, so they're sort of making appearances as well.
But before he knows it, he'll have hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I expect so.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the loose graded, obviously, I've collected just like you for probably just about 30 years, and I've got some of the carded vintage Kenner and Palatoy figures. Not many, not many at all, really. But it was really. I've got to blame John, the action figure grader, really, because I watched his videos and I thought they look quite nice in the Perspex boxes, or credit boxes. And then I got 3, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I've got to try and get them all now, and it's become an obsession for me. And I know, I just want to say thank you on air to you, because you've been an absolute fountain of knowledge, and you really helped me with a lot of things to do with collecting loose graded. So I know you've got some there to show us. I don't know if you want to show us a few and give us a bit of info. That'd be great.
Okay, so I'll pull them out randomly and just talk about the different things you can collect, because there's not just loose graded figures. You can get baggies, you can get mailers. I don't think I've got a mailer here, but this is quite a recent one. This is the General Mundane.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see. That's the Mundane baggy made in Taiwan figure. So it's graded 85 by UKG. This is one of the first variants I ever picked up, because Mundane's got quite a famous variant in my mind, which is the green-haired variant, which is the Taiwan COO. Right. So that's one I always wanted, and I bought that way back in maybe 2011-12, and recently this one came up. It was loose graded baggy, and so I thought I'd snap that. Got it for a great price. So
so I'm looking at one. Sorry, Adam, I'm looking at a General Made-in at the moment. A silver haired, is that what a variant? Silver haired Made-in.
I mean, the gray, is that the Hong Kong COO?
Yes, yeah.
I think there's a Taiwan one. I've got the actual sample figure of this as well. I've got the carded sample of this.
Wow.
Which is an amazing purchase. You never think you'd ever get a sample in the UK, but I did. So, I mean, generally General Mundane is regarded as quite a boring figure, and coming with a sort of pointer as his accessory, but still, it's got some interesting variants. So that's one I got quite recently.
I'm just going to ask you about baggies, because I don't actually know a whole lot about the original stuff. So what were the baggies?
They were for the figures that came in mailaways. Is that lighting better? I don't know. Is that too much?
It's all right in the right place.
Yeah. So they were for, had lots of figures that were mailaways. Like, let me just adjust the light a bit. like Bosk was one of, if not the first mail away figure, and then obviously the famous ones are Nien Num, Admiral Akbar, the Emperor. C C3PO is a very common mailer as well.
I do.
The Lim's version.
I remember getting the Gamorrean, no, not Gamorrean guard, sorry, the Rancor Keeper as a mail away. That was one, wasn't it?
That's a later one then. Wow,
Mm.
that's a pretty cool one. I think I've got a Rancor Keeper. I'll show you in a minute, which is the Mexican version. But that's, so they come in mailer bags, clear plastic bags. Some are tape sealed and some are heat sealed.
Right.
And I tend to buy them pre-graded. I've got the C3PO. I just bought that ungraded. So eventually I'm going to get that sent in for grading.
Yeah.
But,
very cool.
So yeah, I mean, it's quite a niche area to collect. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of Five Idiots Talking Toys.
Yeah.
Chris W, he's a big and he's a good friend of Action Figure Grader. He's a big baggy collector. So he's got loads and loads of baggies. And
I think is he the chap that always insists on wearing the white gloves when he handles the figures?
Possibly. Yes.
Yeah. I have seen his videos. Then, if that's
So this next one is the Rebel Commander, but this is the Mexican version. So this one's UKG graded again. It's not a high grade; it's 75.
And that would be a PBP.
No, Lily Lede.
Oh, sorry, Lily Lede. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So this one, the Mexican version, comes with Chewbacca's bowcaster.
Yeah.
Wow. So that makes it quite a bit of an oddity, and the paint apps on the figure are slightly different, not majorly different, but slightly different.
So with a different weapon, that makes it another variant then, just because it's got a different variant, different weapon.
But that would have been standard in Mexico with the Rebel Commander. Yeah, Rebel Commander.
Wow.
So the Mexican variants are quite nice to acquire because they often look quite different. The paint apps are different, or maybe you get weapon differences, like the Luke Bespin comes with the Bespin blaster, rather than the so-called DL-44 blaster.
Yeah.
And then
you just a minute ago you said something, or Martin said PBP, did you?
Yeah, that's the Spanish manufacturer. So
right.
Let me see this. I think this is a Spanish figure. Yeah, good. So the Spanish figures can be divided into POC figures and PBP figures. So this is, I mean, what's helpful with the Spanish stuff is that there's been 3 really good books published by Javier Ruel Lopez. And so this is quite a famous one. This is the Rebel Luke X-Wing. And I don't know if you can really see it, but the plastic used is quite different. The orange color is really different. So this is a PvP Luke X-Wing. There's a POC version as well, which is the earlier version. With the POC figures, they were made in Hong Kong. The parts were made in Hong Kong, but they were painted in Spain.
Ah, right. Okay.
And then the PvP figures were made in Spain and painted in Spain.
Wow.
Okay.
You often find PvP figures on Trilogo cards.
Right. There really is a whole
some Palatoy cards, yeah. So you can find these Spanish figures on British cards as well.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he really looks. If you had him in hand, you could see how different he looks compared to the Kenner Luke X-Wing.
I mean, perhaps if you wouldn't mind, you could take a few pictures on your phone and send them over to us, and then when we edit the video, we'll put them up on the screen so people can see what you're talking about.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Good idea. I will do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, this one is 8D8. I think this is the Mexican 8D8. Let me just check here. Another Lily Lede. I mean, yeah, so the Lily UKG is considered quite good at labeling their figures. So this is an 8D8, but this is the Mexican version, which is described 1983, no country of origin, Lily Lede. Graded 80. Got this for quite a good price as well. And doesn't help that he's in the Book of Boba Fett now. So that's your Mexican Lily. I mean, if you've got a regular figure and you closely examine the sort of the regular 88 and this one, they're really hard to tell apart, but you'd have to really hold them both in front of you and stare at them for about an hour, and then you'd be able to notice the different subtle differences.
Yeah.
But there are some figures that are really quite different, like some famous Mexican variants for figures. I'm trying to think. Let me see, I've got another one. All right, this one's quite a good one. This is the Han Bespin. This one is, I think, a Mexican figure, and it's quite different.
We're gonna have to put all these back in their bags.
Yeah,
sorry about
it's
that.
quite tedious. But this one's got really dark brown pants, much darker than the let me see. Much dark. See the lights.
Oh yeah.
It's much darker than the regular figure, the Hong Kong or Noku, and the hair is different as well. His hair is really black, and it goes over the ears, whereas on the regular figure it goes like you can see the ear. On this figure you can't.
Ah, interesting.
So that's a nice variant to get. There's another variant Mexican figure which is incredibly expensive, same Han Bespin figure, but the back buckle is painted white, and that's highly sought figure.
Wow,
it's mad that they can do that, and that one particular figure goes for so much more. It's just a tiny little spot of white on there.
But for people that collect Mexican figures, or you know, that people just go quite crazy for these figures.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a little R5D4.
Oh yeah, need to get this one.
Yeah, same.
Is that the red bar?
No, this is I don't have that one. I think Action Figure Grade has got that, but I unfortunately do not. Very expensive over here in the UK, but this is still a good variant. This is the Noku. So this is the 1977 stamp. So R5D4 can be found with two stamps. It can be found with the 1977 or the 1978. The 1977 is the R2 body.
Right.
And it's no country of origin. So it's most likely made in Hong Kong, and the COO has been removed.
Wow.
So it's quite a nice little variant. It's got a smaller head as well.
I do love that one. I'm trying. I haven't really got a order that I want to get the ones I want in. But that's high up on the list. And they're actually quite hard to get hold of for a good price. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, quite often when we do our episodes about making the grade, I often say, "Oh, I think I got that for a good price," or "Oh, I think I might have overpaid." And I don't really have a resource to know if I have or haven't overpaid. Do you know of something that you can look at, or some sort of guide that tells you what the current pricings are?
There used to be back in the day with the old Lee's Action Figure News, but really what you got to do, I mean, I'd talk to Action Figure Grader, and I usually tell him what I think. If you are sort of someone that collects over time, you sort of get a good knowledge of what something's worth, and you know when you're getting a good deal. Like this is only a 75 grade, 75 plus. So, but it's still a nice variant. It's the Noku, so it's slightly rarer, harder to find than the Hong Kong version. But I mean, I've got the Hong Kong, which is a U85 UKG graded, and I bought that years and years ago, but I got that for a steal of a deal, as Action Figure Grader would say.
And you can no longer get uncirculated graded figures, can you?
So those U grades tend to command more a bit of a premium these days, because like you say, UKG and AFA don't do U grading anymore. Obviously CAS doesn't do that as well. So there's three main grading companies. There's Action Figure Authority, there's UKG, which is the British one, and then there's the second American one, which is CAS. I have hardly any CAS stuff, but you know, of the three, AFA is considered the sort of creme de la creme for grading, whereas you know, UKG is still seen as quite good, but sometimes some of their grades are a bit questionable.
Yeah.
And so that's something AFG will point out too sometimes. Let's see what we've got in here. This might not be an action figure, it might be a coin. Yeah, so you can buy the coins also graded.
These would be Power of the Force.
Yeah. So this one's the coin for the, I don't know if it will pick up really well. Let's see. Imperial Gunner coin.
Oh yes, yep. See that, yep.
It's graded 85. I think I paid 21 quid for that.
Wow.
Quite a few years ago. Now you'd pay a lot more for that.
I was going to say, yeah, I think so.
So how much has sort of graded risen in value throughout the years?
I think the main thing was because I was buying before 2015, and I think that's the year when things started to jump up quite rapidly. Before that, I mean, if you look at around say 2013 and prior to that, the vinyl Cape Jawa was about, say, in an 80 grade loose was 250. Then it started to slowly rise. The thing was, it was so common on eBay. I always thought they'd be available.
Yeah.
And then I sort of dithered, and it sort of started to go up to 350, 400. And I was thinking, what? In my mind, I had it valued at 250, and I wasn't willing to go above that. And so, because it was always at 250 for such a long time, and then it just jumped and jumped and jumped, and now it's 2000, if not more. So I really dropped the ball on the VC Jara.
So you've never picked that one up then?
That's one I've missed. I've got the double telescoping loop though.
Oh, now that's a nice one.
I haven't got it here, but I've got some Luke Farm Boys. But I do have mine's only a 75. So
well, you say only, but I mean, still a lovely, lovely thing to have. Yeah.
And I've got the one you want the most, the Blue Saber Luke.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? I've been searching and searching. I've seen a couple on eBay for around about £300, and the thing is, a couple of times I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to use my savings and buy it. But then I thought to myself, I don't know if am I ridiculously overpaying by paying £300 for that figure, or am I, or should I snap it up now because it could end up going up like the
even
Vinyl Cape Jawa? Yeah, it's really tough, isn't it?
I mean, even the Green Saber Luke's going up for a lot of money these days. So and you got the Snap Cape, you got the Taiwan Luke, which is the molded face, which is highly sought. So it's either do you pull the trigger now, like you say, or do you let it see if it goes even higher, and then you have your regrets.
It's difficult. When I was at Echo Base, was it about a month ago? There was some graded Luke Skywalkers with the green saber. And I think they're about 140, 160 pounds for 85 grades. But then, and I thought to myself, that seems quite expensive. But then, of course, I get home 2 weeks later, I'm looking on eBay and they're going in auctions for around about 250. So, of course, should have snapped it up at the time when I saw it. But there you go. You live and learn.
You didn't want the green one. You wanted the blue one.
I do really want the blue one. I think if I got the green one, I'd always regret getting the green one, because the way I'm thinking of it is I'm just going to get the 96 if I can. I mean, it's quite a difficult task, but I'll try and get the 96. And then after I've done that, then I'll start looking at different variants figures, because I don't want to fall into the trap just yet of getting the 8 or 9 IG88s when I've already got one, and I could just get another 8 or 9 of the figures that I don't have. So yeah.
Here's a figure that's quite popular, Luke Bespin. So he's got quite a lot of variants. So he's a good figure that if you wanted to collect as a figure focus, because you've got yellow hair, brown hair, orange hair. You got Spanish figure, Mexican figure, So you've got a whole lot of different COOs to collect as well, raise bar, all that sort of stuff. This is the 1980 Kenner Star Wars loose action figure, Luke Skywalker Bespin, Hong Kong, but it's the orange hair variant. I don't know if you can really see.
Yeah, it's lovely.
But it's 85 grade. I paid quite a lot for this because I bought this on eBay quite far way back. And then a few years later, there was one, a UKG graded one. I think it was an 80 or an 85 as well. And I got that for a really good bargain price. So I think I've got two Luke orange hairs. Or is it? It might be the blue saber actually, but I've definitely, it's a nice one to have.
So did he only come with the yellow saber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke Bespin only came with the yellow saber. And I mean, these days there's a few figures that are, just Hong Kong figures that are just like, I don't know if you watch Action Figure Graders updates, like the Cloud Car Pilot and all that sort of stuff.
I watch pretty much. I'm a Patreon of his, so I watch his videos daily.
and 24 hours early as well.
Yeah, 24 hours early, absolutely. So I was getting on those graded figures that he says I would buy those now.
Yeah. Here's some Luke Farm Boys. So this is another great figure to focus on. There's two there and another one here.
Wow.
So these two are. This is the. Oh, wait a minute. Is this the telescoping saber? This is the telescoping saber.
Oh, wow. This is the first time I'm going to see one.
Oh, my gosh. That is the telescoping saber.
Okay, that was part one of our Talking Star Wars series with Blacked Out Ewoks. We have plenty to say in this, so we split it into two. Come back next week for part two.